The wine glass didn't break from being dropped. It broke because the man holding it forgot, for one full second, that his hand was still closed around it. Nobody in that restaurant had come expecting a legend to be tested over dinner. Nobody had come expecting silence to fall over a room full of forks and candlelight and laughter. But that's exactly what happened. And by the time the last plate was cleared that night, 12 strangers would walk out remembering it for the rest of their lives. This is a fictional account, a what-if built in the spirit of the old kung fu legends, of the night an undefeated Italian heavyweight found the one man in the room who didn't need to raise his voice to win the argument. Beverly Hills, California. A Tuesday evening, autumn 1972. Rosalina's sits on a quiet stretch of Rodeo Drive, the kind of restaurant that doesn't need a sign lit up in neon because the people who matter already know where it is. Darkwood booths, low amber light, a pianist in the corner working through something slow and unbothered. The smell of garlic and brown butter drifting out of the kitchen every time the double doors swing open. It is the kind of place where deals get made over the second bottle of wine, where studio executives pretend not to recognize actors and actors pretend not to notice being recognized. Tonight it is 3/4 full, comfortable, unhurried. Bruce Lee sits in a corner booth with his wife Linda and 2 friends from the industry, a stunt coordinator named Frank and his date. Bruce is wearing a simple charcoal turtleneck, sleeves pushed up, nothing about his posture suggesting he is anything other than a man enjoying a quiet dinner after a long week of filming. He is laughing at something Frank has just said, one hand resting loosely on the table, the other around a glass of green tea. He asked the waiter to bring him instead of wine. Nobody at the surrounding tables pays him much attention. This is Beverly Hills. Everyone here has learned not to stare. Then the door opens, and the temperature of the room changes. The challenger, Vittorio Conti, walks in like a man who has never once had to wait for a table. 6'4", 230 pounds, most of it built through 14 years of professional boxing. Heavyweight, undefeated in his last 31 bouts, 26 by knockout. He fought his way up through Milan's amateur circuits as a teenager, turned pro at 20, and has spent the last decade becoming the loudest name in European heavyweight boxing. A fighter sports writers compare to a young Primo Carnera, crossed with the swagger of a matinee idol. He is in Los Angeles for an exhibition bout at the Forum in 3 days, and tonight he has come to Rosalina's the way he goes everywhere, expecting the room to notice him before he has to ask it to. He is dressed in a cream suit that fits like it was poured onto him, gold cufflinks, a cigar tucked behind one ear that he has not yet lit because his manager keeps reminding him it isn't that kind of restaurant. 2 men flank him, his trainer and a local promoter who has been trying to get him a fight in the States for months. Heads turn as he crosses the floor. He likes that. He has built a career on rooms turning to look at him. He is 3 drinks into the evening by the time he spots Bruce Lee in the corner booth. His trainer notices first, leans in and says something in Italian, low enough that only Vittorio can hear. Vittorio's eyebrows lift. He has seen the big boss dubbed into Italian in a cinema in Rome, has heard the rumors that swirl around every set Bruce works on, that he moves faster than the camera can properly capture, that stuntmen twice his size come away from working with him talking about him in a different register than they use for anyone else. Vittorio has heard all of it, and Vittorio, a man who has never lost a professional fight, has never quite believed any of it. He finishes his drink. He sets the glass down harder than he needs to, and he starts walking. The approach. The restaurant doesn't go quiet all at once. It goes quiet the way a wave arrives. First the tables nearest the aisle, then outward in a ring, as more and more people notice a very large man in a cream suit crossing the floor with the unmistakable gait of someone who has decided something and isn't going to be talked out of it. He stops at the edge of Bruce's booth. He doesn't wait to be acknowledged. "You are the actor," he says. His accent is thick, his voice pitched for the room rather than the table. "The one who does the kung fu." Bruce sets down his cup of tea, unhurried, and looks up at him. "That's right. I have seen your films," Vittorio says, and there's a smile on his face that doesn't quite reach the rest of it. "Very impressive. Very fast editing. Very good stuntman." He lets that land, glancing once at his trainer as if checking that the joke translated. "But I wonder something. I wonder if any of it is real." Linda's hand moves slightly toward Bruce's arm under the table, a small motion, more instinct than intention. Frank sets down his fork. At the next table, a woman in pearls has gone very still, her wine glass halfway to her mouth. Bruce doesn't move. What would you like to know? I am a boxer, Vittorio says, straightening slightly, as if the words themselves add an inch to his height. 31 fights, no losses. I have put men twice as ugly as you on the canvas in under a minute. A ripple of nervous laughter from his trainer, quickly swallowed. I think your movies are a trick for the camera. I think in a real fight, with real hands, you would not last 10 seconds against someone who actually fights for a living. The pianist, who has been playing the same 8 bars for the last 30 seconds without quite realizing it, finally lets the song trail off into silence. Frank leans toward Bruce, voice low, half joking, half not. You want me to call someone? Bruce doesn't answer right away. He's still watching Vittorio, not his face, but the way his weight sits, the way his shoulders carry that particular looseness that only comes from a body that has never seriously doubted itself. It's a familiar shape to Bruce. He has spent 15 years studying exactly that kind of certainty, in gyms and film sets and tournament floors, from Hong Kong to Los Angeles. And he has learned that it comes in 2 varieties. Sometimes it's earned, built patiently, tested honestly, worn without needing to announce itself. And sometimes it's simply never been tested at all, and mistakes the absence of a challenge for the absence of a limit. He doesn't know yet which kind of man is standing in front of him. That, more than anything Vittorio has said, is what makes him set down his tea. No, Bruce says quietly to Frank. Not yet. The room holds its breath. There is a particular kind of quiet that falls over a public room when everyone in it has simultaneously realized they are watching something they were not supposed to see. Not the polite quiet of people minding their business. The alert quiet of 40 or 50 strangers all leaning, however slightly, toward the same corner of the room. Bruce studies Vittorio for a moment, not with anger, not even with much interest. If you didn't know him well enough to read the stillness in his eyes for what it actually was, complete attention. You've had 31 fights, Bruce says finally. His voice doesn't rise to meet the challenge. If anything, it drops, forcing the room to lean in further to hear it. All in a ring, with gloves, with a referee, with rules both of you agreed to before you step through the ropes. A fight is a fight. No, Bruce says, and there's something almost gentle in the correction, the way a teacher corrects a promising student rather than dismisses a fool. A boxing match is a very particular kind of conversation. Everything about it, the size of the gloves, the size of the ring, the fact that I can't kick you or throw you or grab your arm, all of that is written into the rules before either fighter throws a single punch. You've spent 14 years becoming excellent at that conversation. That's not nothing. That takes real discipline. Vittorio's jaw tightens. This isn't the response he came looking for. Not fear, not bluster, something else. Something that makes the exchange feel oddly lopsided even though he is the one still standing. So you admit it, he says. Outside the ring, you are nothing. I didn't say that. Bruce finally rises from the booth. He is not a small man, but standing across from Vittorio the difference is stark and immediate. 9 inches, close to 100 pounds. The kind of gap that makes half the restaurant instinctively brace for what looks like an unfair mismatch about to happen in front of them. I said you're very good at one conversation. I'm asking whether you're willing to have a different one. The promoter steps forward, alarmed now, sensing the shape of a very bad headline forming in real time. Vittorio, this isn't. We should go. The car is outside. Vittorio waves him off without looking at him. His eyes haven't left Bruce's face. What conversation? No gloves. No referee. No rules except one. Bruce's voice is calm, almost conversational. The tone of a man discussing where to eat next, rather than what is about to happen in the next 90 seconds. Whoever is still standing when it's over is right. Beat 6, the witnesses. By now every table in Rosalina's has abandoned any pretense of minding its own business. Later, when the story gets told and retold up and down Rodeo Drive, the numbers will grow the way numbers always grow in stories like this. Some people will remember 80 witnesses. Some will swear it was 200. The truth, as close as anyone can pin it down afterward, is simpler. 41 guests, 6 waitstaff, the pianist, the maitre d', and 2 very unhappy members of Vittorio's own entourage. 49 people, none of whom ordered a show, all of whom are about to get one. The maitre d', a composed, silver-haired man named Alberto, who has worked this floor for 11 years and has never once raised his voice at a guest, moves toward the booth with his hands already up, already forming the sentence about how this is not that kind of establishment. He gets 3 steps before Bruce speaks again, quietly, only to him. 30 seconds, Bruce says. Nothing will be broken that can't be paid for. Alberto looks between the 2 men, one radiating the calm of a held breath, the other radiating the coiled certainty of a man who has never once needed to consider losing, and, against every instinct in his professional body, he steps back. The restaurant clears a space between the booths, without anyone quite organizing it. Chairs scrape backward. A waiter sets down a tray of plates on the nearest empty table, rather than risk carrying it through what's about to happen. Linda has not moved from her seat, but her eyes have not left her husband either. Not with fear exactly, something closer to recognition, the specific look of someone who has seen this particular stillness in him before and knows what it means. The exchange. Vittorio Conti has knocked out 26 professional fighters. He has never, in 14 years, stood across from an opponent who did not raise his hands. Bruce doesn't raise his. He stands with his weight settled, arms loose at his sides, watching Vittorio's shoulders the way a man reads a paragraph rather than a headline. Last chance, Vittorio says, and there is something almost like generosity in it now. The tone of a man who still believes, on some level, that he is about to accidentally hurt someone who doesn't fully understand what is coming. I'm ready, Bruce says. Vittorio moves first, because Vittorio has always moved first, a jab, thrown almost lazily, testing distance the way he's tested 1,000 jabs before it, expecting nothing more than to see how his opponent reacts to real hand speed for the first time. Bruce is not where the jab arrives. He has moved perhaps 4 inches, a rotation of the shoulders rather than a retreat, and the punch finds nothing but the space where a smaller, more surprised man would have been standing a half-second earlier. Vittorio's eyebrows lift a fraction. He resets, throws a real combination this time. Jab, cross, hook, the sequence that has ended fights in Milan and Turin and Rome, thrown with the full, committed weight of a professional heavyweight who no longer needs to think about the mechanics because 14 years have burned them into his nervous system. Bruce slips the jab. He rolls under the cross, and as the hook arrives, he is already inside it, past the reach where Vittorio's full power lives, close enough that the bigger man's own arm becomes a liability rather than a weapon. For the first time that night, Vittorio Conti feels something he has not felt in a professional ring in almost 6 years. He feels late. He steps back to reset distance, the way instinct tells any boxer to do when an opponent gets inside, and finds that Bruce has not given him the space to do it. A palm strike catches him just below the sternum. Not a killing blow, not even a particularly hard one, but placed with a precision that makes something in his diaphragm seize for half a breath. He staggers half a step. Somewhere behind him, someone gasps audibly. Vittorio Conti, undefeated in 31 professional fights, has never taken a backward step in a fight in his adult life. He takes one now, enraged more than hurt. He throws his best punch. A straight right that has put 26 men on the canvas, thrown with everything 14 years of gym work has built into his frame. Bruce doesn't try to outmuscle it. He redirects it. A small, almost gentle deflection of the wrist that sends the punch a few crucial inches wide of its target, and in the same motion, before Vittorio's balance has fully caught up with his committed weight, Bruce's other hand finds a shoulder. Not a strike, a guide. A hand that simply helps Vittorio's own momentum finish the sentence his fist had started. Vittorio goes down, not knocked out, not even truly knocked over. His own overcommit weight, redirected rather than resisted, does the rest of the work for him. He lands on one knee and a hand, the cream suit creasing against the restaurant's hardwood floor, breathing hard, staring at the wood grain in front of him, and trying to understand exactly what just happened to a body that has never once failed him like this. 9 seconds. That's what the clock behind the bar will later be cited as showing. though nobody was actually timing it. 9 seconds from the first jab to a heavyweight champion on one knee in the middle of Rosalina's, and not one punch in that entire exchange had actually landed clean on Bruce Lee. The silence. The restaurant does not applaud. Nobody quite knows what applauding would mean in a moment like this. Instead, there is the particular silence of 49 people simultaneously recalibrating what they believe is possible in a human body. A silence heavier and more complete than any round of applause could have been. Bruce doesn't stand over him. He steps back immediately, hands open, no trace of triumph on his face. If anything, something closer to concern. He extends a hand down toward Vittorio. The Italian boxer looks at it for a long moment. Something moves across his face. Not just the sting of the fall, but the slower, harder recognition that the entire architecture of what he understood about his own body, his own dominance, has just been quietly, thoroughly rearranged. He has been hit before. He has been hurt before, in the ring, by men who trained as hard as he did. But he has never been made to look, in 9 seconds, like he understood nothing at all. He takes the offered hand. Bruce pulls him up with an ease that somehow lands harder than the takedown itself. "You didn't hit me," Vittorio says, quietly now, all the performance gone out of his voice. "Not really. I didn't need to," Bruce says. "You were already moving. I just didn't get out of the way." The conversation after. They sit, eventually, not at Bruce's booth, but at a small table near the kitchen doors that Alberto quietly arranges, away from the still murmuring dining room. Linda joins them. Vittorio's trainer hovers nearby, uncertain whether his fighter has just been humiliated or educated, and increasingly aware that those might not be the same thing. "In the ring," Vittorio says, turning a glass of water slowly between his hands, "I know where the man in front of me can hit me. Head, body. That's all. I know the rules of the space we're both standing in. Tonight I didn't know anything." He looks up. "How do you know where I'm going before I go there?" "I wasn't watching your hands," Bruce says. "Everyone watches hands. Hands are the last thing to move. I was watching your hips, your weight, the half second before the half second where you'd already decided. By the time your fist arrived, I already knew where it was 3 moves ago." 14 years, Vittorio says, mostly to himself. 14 years, and I have never had to think about any of that. I only had to think about power. "Power is not the same as understanding," Bruce says, and there's no condescension in it. Only the flat statement of something he clearly believes down to the bone. "You are an extraordinary boxer. 31 fights, no losses. That's not luck. That's not just size. That's real discipline, built inside a very specific box. Tonight I only asked what happens when the box isn't there anymore. That's not a fair question to ask most men. Most men would have nothing left to answer it with. You had something. You were fast enough to make me work for it." It is, Vittorio will later admit to his trainer on the ride back to the hotel, the strangest compliment he has ever received. A stranger telling him he lost well. "Will you teach me?" Vittorio asks, and the words seem to surprise him as much as anyone else at the table. Not to become you. I don't want to stop boxing. But whatever that was, what you did with your feet, your weight, I want to understand it." Bruce considers him for a moment, really considers him, the way he'd studied his shoulders a few minutes earlier, and something in his expression softens into something like respect. "Come by my school this week, before your fight," he says. "I'll show you a few things. Not to make you fight differently on Saturday, just so the next time someone tells you speed and size are the only things that matter in a fight, you'll know better than to believe them." Epilogue. Vittorio Conti did come by, twice, in the 3 days before his exhibition bout at the Forum, and though nothing about his boxing style changed in that short window, those who worked his corner that week would later say something in his footwork looked different, lighter, more deliberate than the heavy-footed pressure fighter they were used to training. He won his fight at the Forum in the 4th round. He never spoke publicly about what happened at Rosalina's, not once in the following decades of interviews about his career. But according to the story his trainer occasionally told over drinks, whenever a young fighter in his gym bragged too loudly about being unbeatable, Vittorio would fall quiet for a moment, and then ask them a single question. "Have you ever fought someone who wasn't playing by your rules?" Rosalina stayed open on Rodeo Drive for another decade. The maitre d', Alberto, was fond of telling the story to regulars for years afterward, always finishing the same way, with the same small, satisfied shake of his head. 9 seconds, he'd say. Nobody in that room ordered dessert for a full 5 minutes after. Nobody could remember how to ask. Linda would later say the strangest part of the whole evening wasn't the fall, or the silence, or even the 90 seconds when it felt like the entire restaurant had forgotten how to breathe. It was watching her husband sit back down afterward, pick his tea back up as if nothing at all had interrupted it, and ask Frank, with total sincerity, whether the veal had been good. That, more than anything, was the part people struggled to believe when the story made its way around Los Angeles in the weeks that followed. Not that a boxer had been put on the floor of a Beverly Hills restaurant without a single clean punch landing on the man who put him there, but that the man himself seemed to regard the whole thing as barely worth finishing his sentence over. It wasn't a performance of humility. It was simply that, for Bruce, the 9 seconds had never been the point. The point had been a question. Are you willing to have a different conversation? And once it had been asked and answered, there was nothing left in it to hold on to. Vittorio Conti fought for 6 more years after that night, retiring undefeated in his home country, though never again in quite the towering, untouchable way sports writers had once described him. Those close to him noticed the change was subtle rather than dramatic. He still hit as hard, still moved forward the way pressure fighters always had, but there was a new quality to how he set his feet before committing to a combination, a small pause that hadn't been there before, as if some part of him were still listening for a lesson learned at a corner table on Rodeo Drive. He kept one thing from that night, though he rarely told anyone what it was or where it came from. A single photograph, taken by a nightclub photographer who happened to be dining nearby and had the presence of mind to snap it before Alberto could usher him out. Vittorio and Bruce standing together near the kitchen doors, Vittorio still faintly out of breath, Bruce mid-sentence. Neither of them smiling exactly, but neither of them looking like anything but 2 men who had understood each other completely. Vittorio kept it in his wallet for the rest of his career. When asked about it decades later, in the handful of interviews where the old story finally surfaced, he gave the same answer every time, worn smooth by repetition, but no less true for it. Some lessons only take 9 seconds. The rest of your life is just the part where you actually learn them.